Last time on Cyberphile. We climbed the festering banquet, slaying zombies without remorse, went blade to blade with the sodden knight, and met a friend who offered us direction on our journey. Hey, pass the salt, and welcome back to Cyberphile's lore-enhanced playthrough of Salt and Sanctuary, From the Depths. On this episode, we are going to head towards the village that the Masterless Knight spoke about briefly on the last episode. But before we do that, there's a character that I kind of skipped that I just want to see the dialogue for, and I'm sure you want to too. As you can tell, I switched to a spear because I want to do like a poleaxe sort of build, so why not use a spear? So this is the guy I wanted to talk to. Hello, friend. Trinkets to sell, trinkets for coin. Friend, I'm so happy you came along. I've gathered things. Trinkets and such. Trinkets for gold, that's what I've got. Trinkets for coin. How'd you end up here? I stowed away. Sold trinkets in Tanabir, trinkets for coin. So poor, though. Talk of wealth in Karhi. Even beggars like me've got manservants there, they say. Stowed away. Sailed. Then that storm. Imagine the surprise on those sailors' faces, seeing the likes of me in the wreckage there with all them honest men. All of us, floating in the sea, clinging to planks, shivering in the icy cold. Not sure how many of the others made it to shore. That shivering, shivering shore. But the trinkets I find here, they do sell, they do. Doing quite nicely I am. Soon enough I'll be able to buy my escape. Oh, soon enough. You understood. Somehow. So, yet another stowaway. He has interesting goods, actually. He has a couple level up, or rather upgrade materials, but he also carries the armors of all the bosses that you beat. So he actually has the Sodden Knight's armor set here that we could buy, but I don't really have a whole ton of gold, so I'm not really gonna bother with it for now. But we'll have plenty of gold by the end of the game. More than enough gold that we'll know what to do with. So, we'll come back. But for now, let's head down towards our next area. But not before finding another secret. One of these walls. Always forget which one. There it is. So down here... Oh, got the attention of another bat. We can get, I think, the Kismet ring? Yep, the Kismet stone. Okay, we can equip that. Oh, I never equipped my bandaged ring. What's wrong with me? Bandaged ring is one of the best items you can equip. What it does is it reduces your wounding. So when you take damage, it'll actually lower your maximum HP, which is super annoying. So the bandaged ring is like a must equip. And the Kismet stone just increases the rate at which we'll find items. If you look, now we're entering the Village of Smiles, and if you look carefully you can see that little tripwire. I'm not going to fall prey to that. Actually, I'm going to try to get the attention of... There we go. Oh, it didn't work. Sometimes you can sort of trap them. Now, these guys are tough. They are Kraken Knights. And they're interesting because there's a number of different styles of enemies on the island. You've got your basic undead things that have washed up on the island. And you've got abominations, which we'll talk about later. And you've got things like the bats, which may actually still be alive, but manage to swim over somehow. So, what's interesting is that the Kraken Knights are actually something different altogether. They are like... It's not really sure what they are, but it's known that they share a consciousness, because we'll run into many of those Kraken Knights on our journey, and they usually hold really nice items or defend really good areas or things like that. So keep an eye out for those. They apparently share a consciousness, so they keep a watchful eye over the island. That's something we'll have to keep an eye out for. So now I'm just sort of exploring the Village of Smiles. So, the Village of Smiles... Actually, let me have the dialogue with the upcoming character first, and then I'll talk about the Village of Smiles. Right over here, we meet the first sign that something sinister is at hand. Curiosity. What creature persists in the face of such suffocating despair? The others have begun to kneel. Will it join them? No. Such brave, foolish curiosity. It will struggle then, and it will bleed, and it will fall. And one day, when it finds itself beaten and broken, gasping for air, choking on its own blood and tears, that will be the day it kneels. And I will consume it. Now this is just a scarecrow. He's actually got nothing to say, but there's obviously a more sinister power at work, and it's obviously not that scarecrow who is now gone. Well, he disappeared really quick. That's our first sign that there's something a little more sinister at work here, and we'll learn all about the voice behind the scarecrow eventually. But first, we're met with another sanctuary. We've got enough salt to level up and spend a black pearl, one step closer to being able to use crossbows. And we'll get ourselves another potion in the mix. So if I rest here again, now I have 4 maximum potions instead of 3. Now let's see what the blacksmith has to say. Swords, shields, mail, and plate. If you need it, I can craft it. Back home, we'd forge fine instruments from pure living steel. What do I craft with here? Salvage, salvage, salvage. That, and memories. So, he actually doesn't have to say much to us about the Three Creed, but he's obviously a member of the Three, and I will talk a lot about the Three much, much later. But for now, let's talk about the Village of Smiles, which is where we are now. On the mainland, the Village of Smiles lies in Livin, which is that forested area not far from Ascaria. Now, why do they call it the Village of Smiles, you may ask? Oh, what's so happy about it? Well, nothing. It's kind of a little bit of what's the word? Sarcasm. They called it the Village of Smiles because you can look in the back. There's pillars of people. Well, there's people attached to those pillars. And the Village of Smiles was led by one Queen Linnea. Now, Queen Linnea, also known as the Queen of Smiles, who we will become very, very closely acquainted with soon, she was the ruler of the Village of Smiles, and her rule was bloody and dark and full of unrest, and the reason why is because she was psychologically unstable. You see, Linnea came from Tristan, actually, and she was married to King Adnan of Livin for purely diplomatic reasons. There was no love in their marriage, and neither really wanted. However, shortly after Linnea came and was wed to Adnan, King Adnan died. Now, what this means is that now you've got Queen Linnea in charge of a city, a town, a village that she knows nothing about, a strange and unfamiliar place. To make matters worse, she was psychologically unstable, meaning that what ended up happening was she was afraid of many things. I have a list here of some of the things that she was afraid of, just random, irrational fears. She was afraid of cats, twins, the color seafoam green, gourds/pumpkins, and the number 14. And what would happen is, every time she would get a new fear, she would go nuts, and she would order gowlings, punishments, torture, even executions. And what she would do when she executed people is she would put their heads on pikes and put them around the village. Thus, the name, the Village of Smiles. Now, what ended up happening is the villagers got sick of this, obviously. And what they did was they were able to overthrow her, and they cut off the bottom of her jaw in what they called the greatest smile of them all. Now, one more thing to note about the Village of Smiles is that, if you remember when I talked about Livin', I talked about Gondra the Warrior, and how they wielded the Black Widow Greatsword, which is a weapon that you can get in this game. Now, the Black Widow Greatsword was passed down to every single ruler of Livin', including Queen Linnea. However, it's unknown if the Black Widow Greatsword turned into the Sword of Rain, the sword that the Queen of Smiles always used, or if the Sword of Rain was something else entirely. So, either way, the Black Widow Greatsword drives its wielder to madness, and it did this for every single ruler of Livin'. And so, let's fight the Queen of Smiles. And there she is. You can see her jaw has been removed in the greatest smile of them all. Now, she's not too terrible a boss, or too terribly difficult a boss. If you're running a shield build, she's incredibly easy, because you can guard almost every single one of her attacks with relative ease. So, you just want to roll through her attacks, guard the knives if you can, or dodge them altogether would be preferable, right? She'll do 2 or 3 swipes with that combo, summon more knives, and then do a dash maybe. When we get her health down lower, she gets even more violent, and all the swords that she has circling about her and that she's using, that's her Sword of Rain. That's the sword that she used to rule Livin' with an iron fist. A bloody, smiling iron fist. So, and it's unknown whether or not that's the Black Widow Greatsword, but it doesn't look like it. At least it doesn't look like the one that we as players can equip. So, keep that in mind, I guess. There we go, she's entered her second phase now. I love how violent and terrifying she is. The Queen of Smiles is probably my favorite boss in the game. I love her design. I love how crazy she gets with her her attacks near the end of the fight. She's so cool. And absolutely terrifying. If I saw that, ever, I would shit myself. So, yeah, you can see that she's managed to impale many, many people on spikes around the arena. One of the coolest things to make note of, ouch, is the backgrounds in Salt and Sanctuary. There's something that go unnoticed, I feel like. I don't notice them as well, and even I'm noticing new things despite my many, many, many playthroughs through this game. I still keep noticing things that are in the background. I just noticed something near the end of the game that I'll talk about when we get there. But really try to pay attention to the backgrounds, because they're all very interesting. So, with the Queen of Smiles defeated, we can move on through. The Queen of Smiles, by the way, is a completely optional boss. There is no need to go through the Village of Smiles, but we were met with a number of decent items. And we can't go down this way yet. We get a number of decent items. We fight the coolest boss, in my opinion. One of the coolest bosses. If you don't think she's the coolest, you probably think she's one of the coolest. And you get a number of items, salts. There's really no reason not to go through the Village of Smiles. It's not too terribly difficult either. And like I said, if you're running a shield build, it's a really easy fight because you can block almost every one of her attacks with relative ease. So keep that in mind if you need some tips on taking down the Queen. Hoy, traveler! Well met. Call me Fern. I've been hiding out here for some time. Seen any trinkets? I lost a small patch of earth. Not yet. Shame. So we'll be able to give him some stuffs later. And then that's going to lead us to our next area, the Watching Woods. And can't see for shit. There we go. And I'll talk about the Watching Woods in detail in the next episode. There's a lot to say about the Watching Woods, I think. Get a couple items. Kill some beasties. This bloated monstrosity. Yes, that's its actual name. Also not too terribly difficult an enemy. Roll through its attacks. If it does the poison, just kind of stay away from that. Sometimes you're forced to roll into it, the way his attack pattern works sometimes, but not too bad a fight. So let's just get the items that are over here, and I think this gives us one of our first charms, yeah. This is the Pale Charm. That will increase the reach of some of our attacks. So even though you can't tell, our spear will go just a little bit farther with the Pale Charm equipped. Now down here you meet one of the most interesting and mysterious characters in the game, and I really don't know what to make of her. She could be a goddess, a familiar of a goddess or god. She could be a kraken, and she's definitely not human. She's definitely not like us. Let's see what she has to say. Well met, Saltborn. I am not like you, born of salt. I am born of life that flickers like flame. I am summoned by the Song of Souls, spelled in candlelight, written by the drowning Saltborn. Your world is cold and stifling. My light is fleeting here. To be Saltborn is to be a dying fragment of eternity. To be born of light is to be truly living, yet so ephemeral. Ephemeral. You know, that word. And that's all she'll tell us. We can buy her equipment if we want. And what she actually does for you is she'll let you forgive your sin and cleanse you of your defilement. Later in the game, we can get defiled. I think I'm using the right word. I'll edit some text on the screen if I'm not. You can get defiled if you join one of the creeds and use one of its items a lot, or and its magic. And she'll help you, and that defilement will eventually make you physically weaker. But the magic is all very powerful, so you barely even notice. At any rate, she'll remove that defilement from you. Also, I heard that it can even make your screen go black and white if you get defiled enough, but never done that. And finally, the other thing she can do is, if you choose to desecrate a sanctuary and fight against it to try and convert it for your creed, you become hated by that creed, and any sanctuary that has that creed in it will detest you and attack you on sight. And so you have to kill everybody and everything to get through there. So, not a good thing. But she, for a price of salt, of course, will take that away. So let's level up and spend our points. Ooh, shit, that's not what I wanted at all. Alright, we'll have to wait till we go to Grey Pearl to remove that. Oh well, that happens. What I want is this, Class 1 Marksman. Now we can equip crossbows. And I don't think the blacksmith sells one. We can check. Oh, he does! The platoon crossbow. Perfect. Let's buy that. Done. And now for our second, we can set the crossbow up. Now, I think that's going to make us, move really slow. So I think what I want to do, let me try this. Can I... Oh no, they won't let you. I was just thinking it would be really cool if you could do shield and crossbow. But that's the way it's going to have to be. Let's buy some bolts too if he has any. No, we'll have to buy those from a merchant. So we've been collecting offerings, and you can offer them at sanctuaries that are of your aligned creed, and they'll bring more characters. And you can talk to them about things. Sometimes they'll tell you useful things. Sometimes they'll just say nothing. We can go anywhere but home. So I want to buy some bolts. Let's get a good deal, maybe like 50 bolts. That'd be good. Now we have a ranged option for dealing with flying and annoying things. We may need to use that in the future. And let's see. Does he have anything good to say? This island is a cold and mysterious place. I miss the bustling markets of Ascaria. The war with Tristan was quite profitable for me. Those were the days. My belly is fit to quiver just thinking about it. Every day I'd haggle them all under the table, and every night I'd put a feast on my table. And the tales I'd attach to my wares, I was like a wizard of want. A rusty dagger? No, I'd sell you the Kriss of Dying Truths, a magical weapon capable of making its victims tell you anything truthfully with their dying breaths. A wooden spoon? Ha! You'd be buying Soul Mother Grace's ladle, a generations-old scoop that would imbue any liquid to touch it with magical properties, so long as the owner was pure at heart. I don't do that anymore. My appetite is gone. I'll sell you things, but only because it's all I know how to do. Well, go on. Buy something, will you? So you can get little story bits and little funny parts out of the characters if you talk to them. But some characters that we'll interact with in certain sanctuaries will give us some decent amount of story. So, on the next episode of Let's Play Salt and Sanctuary, we're going to head over to the right and head towards the Watching Woods. Don't miss it. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Cyberphile content. And if you like this video, show me with that little thumbs up button. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos. You can click right on the boxes to jump to them. Cyberphile, offline.